and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Getting older is not for sissies. That's what one of my patients says. And it's funny, but it's true. Live long enough and you'll get arthritis, skin cancer, probably one of the common chronic diseases like CHF, COPD, diabetes. At All County Healthcare, we teach you how to manage your disease. We make sure you know how to take your medications and how to recognize signs and symptoms before requiring hospitalization, no matter how many visits it takes. You didn't move to Florida to be sick. You moved here to enjoy the rest of your life. And that's exactly what our team of nurses, therapists, and aides at All County Healthcare help you do.
The following programming is furnished by you and your doctor.
The content, information, and opinions expressed during the related show are those of the show personalities and guest alone, and not those of Vic Canellis Media Group, its parent, affiliates, or stations. VCMG Live is not responsible for any content, information, or opinions expressed. User bears full responsibility for their reliance on such content, information, or opinions.
Amp2.tv presents You and Your Doctor, teaching you to live a longer and healthier life. Proudly sponsored by All County Healthcare, where people are the heart of our business. All County Healthcare is a Medicare certified agency where one call will service all your home care health needs. For more information, call 954-717-7027 or visit our website, allcountyhealthcare.com. Now, let's get informed to living a longer and healthier life. Here is your host for today's show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of You and Your Doctor, sponsored by All County Healthcare. I'm your host, Raymond Phillips, and you're able to watch us on AMP2 TV, as well as listen to us on the radio at 96.9 and 95.3 FM. And today, we have a very special guest with us. I want to welcome Dr. Zaki. How are you doing today, Dr. Zaki?
Doing well, Raymond. How are you?
I'm doing very good. Dr. Zaki is the owner of Moyenda Medical Associates, and he is a board-certified family medicine doctor. So how are you feeling to be on the show today?
It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. So let's start off this interview by telling us a little bit about your background as a medical professional.
Well, I went to medical school at the American University of Antigua in the Caribbean.
Nice.
We do 12 months there. We call it On the Rock. And then we do our clinical rotations in the U.S. So I did all mine in New York City, Connecticut, and so that's pretty much it. You know, I did my residency training at Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee, in family medicine. And it's a joint venture with Vanderbilt Medical College.
That's very good. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about your journey of becoming a doctor.
Oof. That's a loaded question because I'm a non-traditional student. I actually started medical school at age 36. I went to undergraduate school at Florida State. Spent 6 years there, didn't finish, came to Miami and finished at FIU. At that point, I became ultimately, I say, put my nerd hat on. It was Nerd City from 95 all the way throughout. I finished up in 95 from FIU and went straight to Philadelphia, where I got my master's in business and health administration.
Wow.
And I always wanted to be a physician, to be honest with you. I played basketball in high school. I was pretty good at it. Thought I would go to college and play, but that didn't work out. And I was disappointed with that, to be honest with you. I didn't take it to the end. But that feeling of not pursuing it, you know, kind of disturbed me. But this idea, this dream, a desire to be a physician kind of never went away. And I came up with every excuse in the book not to do it. It's going to cost too much. It's going to take too long. It's too hard. But in 98, when I finished and got my master's in business, I said, you know what, this was very difficult itself. This was very costly itself. And so I set out at that point to really focus, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I worked full time, and I literally started all over from scratch.
Wow.
Taking all my prerequisites, biology 1, biology 2, chemistry, organic, the whole thing. And it took me 8 years. And while I was working full time, I was working as a health administrator. And but as fate would have it, you know, I was ultimately able to finish my prerequisites and got into medical school, and at age 36, as I mentioned, and the rest, you know, was history. You know, it was the best decision ever. I was working in administration where I wasn't close to the action. I worked in healthcare, but it was from an administrative point of view. I was in meetings all the time, very disjointed, and I wanted to be in the action, you know, so medical school offered me the opportunity to do that. And so ultimately finished in 2015 altogether.
Wow.
Yeah.
You truly have such an amazing and unique story. It's very different from other medical professionals in your field, but you got here, and it just shows your perseverance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how were you able to translate your story into your practice, Moenda Medical Associates?
Well, the diverse background offers me a unique opportunity to see my patients. As you know, I've been working in hospital medicine for the last 7-8 years. And in medicine in general, you don't get to pick who comes to see you. You have a diverse pool of patients that come in. And so my geographic diversity and my academic diversity has offered me a unique opportunity to connect with all patients from wherever they are, because I've traveled so much. And so as one of my colleagues has mentioned, one of my teachers, I should say, he told me to always connect with your patients. You know, when you go through medical training, there's a format for which you take a history. You start with the chief complaint, then you go to the history of presenting illness, then you go to allergies. There's a format. And then you get to the social history, almost middle of the stream. And one of my professors, he told me a lot of times it's best to start with the social history, get to know your patients. And that's worked out very well for me, very well, because patients feel more relaxed. You know, you have to think about it. The patients come into the healthcare space, they're not feeling well. There's some disturbance in their health system. No one really wants to come to the doctor or the hospital. So if you ask them about who they are, where do they live, what kind of work they do, you know, that, you know, eases the tension a little bit, and you get to connect more with them.
That's, again, truly amazing what you're doing here with your new practice. And speaking of new practice, his practice will be opening for his grand opening tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m. The address for his new practice is located at 220 South Dixie Highway, Lake Worth, Florida, 33460. And again, 5 to 8 p.m., you're having your grand opening. So tell us a little about the process leading up into creating this business.
Well, you know, timing is everything. Peter Kaplan, who was very instrumental in setting all this up, he works with All County Home Health Care, who we've been in collaboration with for the last 2 or 3 years. It's an awesome company, awesome organization, good people. He actually set me up with Dr. Jay Seidel, for which I'm going to be sharing the office space with here in Lake Worth. And we were going to do this in 2019, just before the end of 2019. For whatever reason, I pulled out. I felt it wasn't the right time. And sure enough, 2 months later was the advent of COVID. So it wasn't well. And then shortly thereafter, my back went out, and I had 2-3 months of severe back pain, ultimately having surgery. So that would have been disastrous. So now we revisit it, everything is stabilized, and I reached out to Peter again, and just so happened that Dr. Seidel has an office near where I work and live.
Wow.
And so the same opportunity afforded itself. He had office space available. So that's pretty much the backstory to what led up to it. Professionally, like I said, I've been taking care of critically ill patients for the last 7-8 years, but the emergency care, the emergency department doesn't offer an opportunity to connect and follow up as I would like to. You know, I'm a board certified family physician, so we're trained by definition to see chronic illnesses and manage them on a regular basis. So there's regular follow-up with hypertension, regular follow-up with diabetes and the like. And so if you see patients, they're critically ill, you do a little clean up, stabilize, and then there's no follow-up. And so that's kind of been eating at me for some time. So I've always had the desire to get back into my home base, if you will. And so that's pretty much, where we are.
And again, it's truly amazing what you're offering to the patients in your new community in Lake Worth.
Yeah.
Having a relationship with your clients just makes the doctor visit a lot more bearable. If they're anything like me, I don't like the dentist. I'm scared of the dentist. So if they start off with personal questions, it will be a lot. It will ease the tension so much going into our actual visit with them.
Right.
So moving on to our next question, how would you say your practice is going to benefit the community of Lake Worth?
Well, that's a good question because I believe, honestly, I'm trying to train my staff and those who we collaborate with that we are here, number one, to provide a service and to to change the way we think about health. In other parts of the world, people go to the doctor when they are healthy so that they can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Over here, we're still used to being reactive. You get sick, then you go to the doctor, and that's not a proper way to really handle your health. The health and wellness industry is a $4 trillion industry right now, and it's only going to grow. So to answer your question, we want to collaborate with those in our community by educating them. I met with a nice young lady named Mariana. She's the director of the Guatemalan Maya Center, which is not too far from our office in Lake Worth. And they do a lot with their community and getting them established with their immigration paperwork, getting them set up with their housing, food, etc. So we don't want to just be a healthcare provider where we're just passing out pills. Someone comes and they're sick. Of course, we'll do that. But we want to play a more integral part in the community in helping with youth programs, for example. Tomorrow, if I can plug our grand event, we're having book bags full with school supplies. This is our way of introducing ourselves into the community to say we want to partner with all those who will partner with us.
Again, having that community aspect is so important, and that's what makes your practice unique from so many other family practices in this area. So again, moving forward, how would you say you're going to make your practice financially affordable for your community that you're serving?
Well, that's the tricky part. As you know, we talked about it before the show starts. Back in the 80s, the healthcare market went through a revolution where they combined the delivery of healthcare, what we do as providers, with the financing of healthcare. They combined it, and it came up with something what they call third-party payers, HMOs, etc. And so they are the ones who control, for the most part, the pocketbooks and what we do. So, but we do have some contracts signed already. We're waiting to go through credentialing. We hope to, we're on Medicare and Medicaid. We hope to bill through there. But again, we're pushing service. We've come to realize that across most industries, there's a lack of service, if you notice.
Yes.
There's your routine lawn person. You can hardly get good service from there. But in healthcare, it's different because you're dealing with your health. And so if you go to the fast food restaurant, for example, and they mess up your sandwich, you may be annoyed, but that's a fixable thing. But if you're dealing with a chronic disease such as diabetes or hypertension or, God forbid, cancer, you don't really want to have bad service. You want to know that the interaction is solid, the transparency is there, and the follow-up is there. And so that's what we're trying to do, and I feel that the market will pay for that.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I think the market will pay for that.
And again, that's really amazing, making it so that people's insurance is able to afford and able to cover their medical visits.
Yes.
And again, truly amazing of what you're doing and what you're bringing to the community.
Thank you.
So we're about halfway through our interview, so we're going to take a quick commercial break right now, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
All County Healthcare has exciting news for any and all patients with COPD or other respiratory ailments. Listen to what renowned pulmonologist Dr. Keith Robinson has to say.
Hello, I'm Dr. Keith Robinson, board-certified pulmonologist, medical director at Fusion Health Pulmonary Rehabilitation, and a board member with the American Lung Association of South Florida. We have exciting news for patients with COPD. We now offer IPV therapy at home, which has been demonstrated to improve airway clearance, decrease hospitalization, and improve quality of life of patients with COPD. Please call All County Healthcare for more information about this FDA-approved therapy.
For further information, call All County Healthcare now at 954-717-7027. That is 954-717-7027. Or visit our website at allcountyhealthcare.com. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Remember, All County Healthcare always puts the patient's needs first. And LinkedIn. Remember, All County Healthcare always puts the patient's needs first. You are listening to You and Your Doctor, Living Longer and Healthier, an informative show that helps you find answers to questions you always wanted to ask but did not have that somebody that could make a difference in your life. Call into the show if you have a question at 888-565-1470, and we will put you on the air to inform all our listeners. Now, back to our show.
Welcome back to You and Your Doctor. We are back here with Dr. Zaki. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Quick commercial break right there.
Yes,
So
yes.
moving forward with our interview,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about the referral process for patients to come and see you.
Well, as a primary care doctor, we usually give out referrals to our patients to see specialists depending on what type of insurance they have. But to see us directly, there's no referral needed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah,
it super simple
yeah.
and streamlined for the patient as well.
Right.
So you accept walk-in visits?
We do. In fact, we
Amazing.
encourage them. We're going to set up a program where patients can come in and get free blood pressure checks. Because I've noticed that blood pressure, they don't call it the silent killer for no reason. A lot of people are walking around with elevated blood pressures, and it's responsible for what we call cerebral vascular accidents. It's a commonly known as stroke, and heart attacks and kidney failure just from elevated blood pressure. And the body has a high resilience. High resilience people will walk around with high blood pressure, and the body will accommodate that, but it has an endpoint. And so it's not uncommon to have a patient that come to the emergency room with a slight headache, a little bit of dizziness, maybe some nausea. You check their blood pressure is 220 over 110.
Wow.
This happens regularly.
Wow.
So this is something that I want to institute, where we just say, come on in for free blood pressure checks. And if they're fine, okay, but who knows? I'm sure we're going to catch some people who have no idea that they have high blood pressure.
And that can really save someone's life if they don't
Absolutely.
know they're walking around with high blood pressure.
Yeah.
So during this interview, you talk a lot about dealing with chronic medical issues. For our listeners this evening, tell our listeners a little bit about steps that they can take to help prevent or deal with some of the chronic issues they may be facing in their daily lives.
Well, good question. I've been posting a lot on my Instagram page, which I'm new to Instagram, and I've been playing on this, but it's serious, is that we could just drink more water.
Yeah.
It's very important. 80% of our body mass is water, and it's such a crucial thing that we can all do. And I know I'm guilty of not drinking enough, but physiologically we need it. And then that will offer the opportunity to, you feel better, your skin is more vibrant just by drinking more water, being more active, watching what we eat. These are all preventative things that we can do. And this is what I forecast, the vision of our practice within the next year once we get off the ground, moving into the more wellness, health prevention and disease, health promotion and disease prevention, really to take advantage of the fact that we're healthy so we don't have to enter into the healthcare space with these chronic illnesses of diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and who knows, we're having a lot of younger people now having diseases that they never had before, like diverticulitis, which is an inflammation of the large colon, for example, that could lead to perforations and people having part of their colon taken out. We're seeing a lot of young people having colon cancer. And from different etiologies, we don't know, but we have to, I personally think it's what we eat. We have to be more mindful of what we eat and how much we eat.
Yeah, no, definitely. So you mentioned that you're starting to see a lot more younger people with these chronic issues. Where would you say they manifest the most within the young population?
What do you mean?
Manifest the most with the chronic issues? Like what type of chronic issues are you seeing the most with our young people?
Well, like I said, diverticulitis is one. We used to have like a bell-shaped curve that was sort of skewed over to the older population. Now we're seeing like a bimodal distribution in their 20s and 30s, and maybe drop off a little bit and come back up. Colon cancer, as I said. Diabetes. There's something we call metabolic syndrome, which is a collection of things that have to do with a sedentary lifestyle, increased belly fat, not moving around, cholesterol is high, and this all leads to insulin resistance, which will ultimately lead to diabetes. So these are all preventable things just from not being active and not eating the appropriate foods.
No, definitely. And I know especially nowadays, so many people just don't have the knowledge under their belt to deal with these chronic diseases that people are obtaining at such a young age nowadays.
Yes.
And it sounds like your practice is such a great opportunity for people to have the resources and gain the tools as well as the treatment to deal with a lot of these chronic issues.
Yes, absolutely.
That's awesome. So moving forward, tell us a little bit more about your practice. Where can we find you? How can we reach you?
Well, we're going to be in downtown Lake Worth, 220 South Dixie Highway. Our grand opening is tomorrow. Hope to see everyone there. We are super excited about it. A lot of planning went into it, a lot of hard work and effort. And there's an old adage, one hand can't clap. So there's a lot of collaboration, but we are in downtown Lake Worth, once again, 220 South Dixie Highway. Grand opening is tomorrow, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. We're going to have a lot of fun refreshments. We have an ice cream truck coming out from 6 to 8 for the little kids.
Nice.
And as I mentioned earlier, there'll be about 50 backpacks full with school supplies in Palm Beach County. The kids go back to school the following day, which is August 10th. So we're hoping this is good timing. We're hoping that there's a good turnout and all the bags are gone at the end of the event. So we're expecting a good turnout.
That's amazing. It sounds like it's going to be a really great community event for the entire family.
Yes, indeed.
So at your practice, what resources are you going to be offering your new patients, as well as when are you going to be starting taking new patients on?
Well, right away. We still have a lot of work to do. We're jumping off the ground. We're starting small. We still have some things we have to iron out, but the day after, on August 10th, we'll be accepting new patients.
Wow.
And so, as I mentioned, we'll be taking Medicare, Medicaid, and walk-in. We also have a concierge service, if you don't mind. Let me just say a few words about that. There's a large population of people who don't have insurance, but they work, and they may not have a lot of problems. They may not have any problems. And what I find sometimes when they do have a problem, they'll go to maybe an urgent care center and spend a lot of money, and it may not even be seen by a physician. So I'm also offering, as part of our practice, a concierge service for just those people who don't have insurance, where they can pay monthly or pay annually. And they'll do home visits will be included. I still do home visits.
Wow.
Where I go out and spend an hour with the patients. I take their vitals. I do a complete physical exam. I sit down and talk to them, which is what I like. I don't like sitting in front of a computer, which a lot of times we end up doing that. Just the nature of where the market is right now. And there'll be urgent care visits, and they'll also have access to me 24 hours, 7 days a week by text messaging. So it's almost like having a private doctor on call that you pay for, so you don't have to reflexively go to an urgent care center and may not be seen necessarily by a doctor. So
or right away too. There's usually those long waits.
That's long wait time. Yes, we definitely want to try to alleviate that as much as possible. Yes.
I think this is another great example about how unique your practice is going to be, offering that relationship with your patients along with that amazing care that you offer them as well.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the age range of patients that you'll be taking on at your practice.
So anywhere from 16 up. Yeah, I've been seeing adult patients, and that's pretty much the space that we'll be working in. And speaking of that, also we'll be doing school physicals and sports physicals also. We'll be going out to the high school, Lake Worth High School, and
that's
other high
amazing.
schools shortly, introducing ourselves to the coaches and offering our service. Another way to bond with the community and giving them discounted rates on doing physicals as they go back to school and enroll in sports activities.
Would you say that there are things caught during a lot of those school physicals?
Yes, and the most important of which you see all in the literature is what we call hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, HCM, which is that disease or condition where you see a sudden death. You know, you have a young athlete traditionally will be fine, and then all of a sudden they just collapse and die. And so this is something that a regular 12-lead EKG could catch. You know, if we see a certain tracing that sees in a large septum or the heart, we can refer them to a cardiologist. There is a genetic component to it as well, but that's the most thing. You know, scoliosis, well, sometimes we can catch that too. Asthma, you know, exercise-induced asthma, sometimes we can catch that as well.
So these are things that can really help save a child's life as well
Absolutely.
as make them a little bit more bearable as well.
Yes.
And so we are getting ready to close up. So tell me a few last closing words that you have for our listeners tonight.
Well, I just want to say I'm very honored and humbled to be back here. And my name is Dr. Moyenda with Moyenda Medical Associates. And our motto is our patients are priority one. And we don't play when it comes to that. You know, my nurses that work with me know that don't play when it comes to the patients. We really want to make them feel special because it's an honor. It's an honor and privilege to take care of a stranger. It opens themselves up to you. That's not a normal thing you find in any other interaction. So we try to honor that space as much as possible.
It is a vulnerable time.
Yes, indeed.
Definitely. So a few last closing words. Again, this is Dr. Zaki with us today, the owner of Moyenda Medical Associates. They're going to be having their grand opening tomorrow from 5 to 8 p.m. And their address is 220 South Dixie Highway, Lake Worth, Florida, 33460. For daily office hours, they're open from Monday to Friday, 8 to 6 p.m., and Saturday appointments from 9 to 1 p.m. Again, there's no need for a referral. They take Medicare as well as Medicaid. They take walk-in visits, and they'll be taking patients as soon as August 10th, which is truly amazing.
Yes.
And I just want to thank all of our listeners tonight for watching You and Your Doctor. And we'll be back next Monday on the 15th.
Share with you a longer and healthier lifestyle. If you have a doctor or are a doctor and wish to be on the show, call AMP2 TV at 866-244-5422, and we will put you on the air as soon as possible. Tune in next week for more information on living longer and having a healthier life.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
Hi, my name is Deanna Barron. I'm an RN with All County Healthcare. I used to work for this huge corporate-owned home health agency, and I was always worried that they wouldn't let me make enough nursing visits to be sure that your wound was fully healed, or that you were completely comfortable checking your husband's blood sugar level and giving him the correct dose of insulin, or that your mom's lingering cough was the end of her bronchitis, not the beginning of a new episode. The owner of All County Healthcare always says, give the patient what they need, and he means it. At All County Healthcare, I see my patients until their goals are met, and I never worry. I hope you never need a nurse to come to your home, but if you do, tell your doctor, I want All County Healthcare.